The bell above the restaurant door chimed softly as Mark Jensen stepped inside with his daughter's small hand wrapped around his finger. Emma was 7, all elbows and curiosity, her hair tied into a crooked ponytail she had done herself that morning. Friday nights were their thing. Nothing fancy. Just burgers, a shared milkshake, and the comfort of a place where no one asked questions. Mark scanned the room out of habit. He always did. He noted the exits, the faces, the tone. It was a reflex he could not shake, no matter how many years had passed. Tonight felt ordinary enough. Low music, the smell of grilled onions, laughter spilling from a corner booth. They were led to a table near the window. Emma slid into her seat and began studying the menu like it held secrets of the universe. Mark smiled, but his attention drifted to a table 2 rows over. A woman sat alone there. She looked out of place, not because she was alone, but because of how she held herself. Her shoulders were tense, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Across from her, 3 men in suits leaned back in their chairs, drinks half finished, voices loud and sharp. One of them laughed too hard. Another tapped his glass against the table as if demanding attention. Mark did not hear the words at first. He only felt the shift in the room, the way nearby conversations softened. The woman said something quietly. One of the men responded by leaning in, invading her space. Emma noticed too. She looked up at her father. "Daddy, why is that lady sad?" Mark followed his daughter's gaze. He saw the woman's face now. Pale. Eyes fixed on the table as if she could disappear into it. "It's not our business," he said gently, though his chest tightened. He tried to focus on Emma, on the waitress taking their order, on the normal rhythm of the evening. Then he heard it. "Wrong table, sweetheart," one of the men said, loud enough for half the room. "But since you're here, might as well enjoy the view." Laughter followed. The woman stood abruptly, her chair scraping the floor. One of the men grabbed her wrist. That was when Mark rose. He did not shout. He did not rush. He walked over calmly, placing himself between the woman and the men. "Gentlemen," he said evenly, his voice steady in a way that surprised even him. "Wrong table. Wrong day." The man who held the woman's wrist scoffed. "And who are you supposed to be?" Mark met his eyes. He felt the old familiar heat stir beneath his ribs, the part of him he kept locked away for Emma's sake. "I'm the guy telling you to let go," he replied. The room went silent. The man hesitated, then released the woman's wrist with a dismissive laugh. "Relax. We were just talking." "Doesn't look like it," Mark said. The manager appeared, drawn by the tension. The men complained loudly, but the balance had shifted. They paid their bill in a flurry of indignation and left, their confidence deflated. The woman stood frozen, unsure what to do next. "You're safe," Mark said softly. "You can sit with us if you want." She nodded, eyes glassy, and followed him back to the table. Emma smiled at her. "Hi. I'm Emma." "I'm Claire," the woman said, her voice trembling. They sat in silence for a moment. Mark could feel his heart pounding now that the moment had passed. "Thank you," Claire said. "I didn't know how to get out of that." "You don't owe me anything," Mark replied. "Sometimes people forget how to act." Claire studied him, then glanced at Emma. "You're a good father." Mark looked away. Praise always made him uneasy. As they ate, Claire slowly relaxed. She told them she was in town for a job interview that had gone badly. The men had mistaken her for someone else, someone they knew, and refused to believe her when she said she was at the wrong table. "What about you?" she asked Mark. "You seem alert." He hesitated. Emma was busy stacking fries into a tower. "I used to be someone else," Mark said carefully. "Before Emma was born." Claire waited. "I did things I'm not proud of," he continued. Security work overseas. Private contracts. I saw what happens when good people stay quiet. When no one steps in. Claire's expression softened, but there was something else there. Recognition. I know that look, she said quietly. The one where you're always bracing for something. Mark met her eyes. You too. She nodded. I left an abusive marriage last year. Changed my name. Moved cities. Tonight I thought I'd escaped all that. I'm sorry, he said. So am I, she replied. But I'm also grateful. You reminded me I'm not invisible. They finished their meals. The restaurant returned to its usual hum. As they stood to leave, Claire paused. Why did you really step in? She asked. Mark looked at Emma, who was tugging on his sleeve, ready to go home. Because one day, he said, I want her to grow up knowing that silence is a choice. And it's not always the right one. Claire smiled, a real one this time. They walked out together, then parted ways in the parking lot. No promises were made. No numbers exchanged. As Mark buckled Emma into her seat, she looked up at him. You were brave, Daddy. He closed the door gently and rested his forehead against the car for a moment. No, he whispered, more to himself than to her. I was just finally choosing who I want to be. And for the first time in a long while, the past loosened its grip, just enough to let him breathe.